can get sucked into what's going on just because of all this social media, especially on WhatsApp.
Yes, and you see, humans are susceptible to drama, and it's easier to believe what is more sensational than actually what is the reality. And this is human nature. So when you look at the world from that perspective, you realize the role that social media can play. And when you listen, I was telling Robert here, I was listening to Mark Zuckerberg this week, and he was talking about, and I was so glad to hear him now change his whole tone compared to 2-3 years ago when he was in the European Parliament and the US Senate, where he was saying that people have a right to privacy, people have a right to freedom of speech, and you know, most of these social media platforms and their leaders were pushing back against government's efforts to curtail fake news at the height of fake news. Now he realizes that it's not as simple as that, and that social media and they as movers and shapers of social media, technology, and artificial intelligence have to take on more responsibility and fight fake news and fight sensationalization, and because this can destroy humanity. And now this is when they realize that this can destroy humanity. So when you look at your Instagram, when you look at your WhatsApp, the whole rationale behind mentioning stopping forwards for more than 5 people and mentioning that this is a forwarded message, and now Facebook is even going further to highlight if someone posts wrong information, they have a truth checker who then says this information is false, and then you can click on the truth checker and they can rectify and they can tell you the truth about certain information. And I think this is a huge step in the right direction for social media, for technology, for artificial intelligence. Because when you listen to where the world is going, and for me, I think this is the biggest takeaway from coronavirus. This and the changes in the world superpower, and we are learning about globalization, the dangers of globalization, and the good things that come from globalization. One of the dangers is the world is more interconnected today through social media and, through travel, because you can now travel from, when the Black Death happened, it didn't affect Uganda at the time because Uganda was so far from Europe, but it affected Europe. But now, because of the travel and the interconnection in the world and globalization, when China coughs, Uganda catches a cold. Mm-hmm. And we have now to realize that comes with huge responsibilities if we as a human race don't want to be annihilated. So I think the takeaway from this, and months down the road, apart from the stock exchange being shut down, the countries, especially countries with so much power, and these days power lies in those who have better technology than others, are going to start learning that they have huge responsibilities they bear by virtue of having this wealth, having these advancements, and having this power. So it's not only just the movies where you see this. When you talk to friends in Europe, say in Italy, they will tell you that, or in Seattle, they will tell you that we go out on the streets and there's nobody. It's like a ghost town. It's things we've watched in movies. And we are lucky as Uganda.
Well, the country's in lockdown. Now they allow them to take a walk as long as you're a meter away from someone else.
And here we can sit in the studio without even masks and discuss numbers of, it's only this and this number of people who have died, so it's not as fatal because it's 3%. But to other people, it's not statistics. When your child dies or your mother dies from this, it's no longer a statistic. It's a reality that, this is actually killing someone who would have been alive. And when you look at the New York Times, the article they wrote today, talking about the origins of the virus, and information is going to come out where this came from, and that in China and in China's secret platforms, everyone believes America spread this virus, that it came from Wuhan, yes, but America is responsible. And this is New York Times. It's not exactly a rag paper or fake news. So we are going to learn so much. And for me, this is going to change the world as is. Yes. This is going to change the world as is. This is going to change technology. This is going to make... I
think what's going to change is how we look at technology mostly.
How we look at technology, how we look at... So, Papas, look at... In 2008, during the economic crisis, everyone looked to America for a solution. Like, show us what to do. Right now, no one is looking at America. And that shows how much the world is changing. Everyone for themselves. previously the world would now be coming together with the UN and World Health Organizations having meetings and getting together to find the
now America is banning things.
But America is banning things. The irony is Mexico is closing the American border.
That is an irony.
That is an irony. It's
That's the
closing
best
American
one,
border
yeah.
to, prevent the virus.
That
But
the
for
best
me,
of the week.
Yeah. but
it is
the best from Nancy.
Yes. So
But
that's
Namfi,
ironies.
Namfi,
Yes.
you missed because you came late. You missed your Tumukunde moment, and I don't want you to miss it. So, and I prepared a questionnaire for
Yes.
you because you know, as Biarange has said, Namfi is very rarely wowed, but Tumukunde wowed you. But do you
When?
think last Saturday?
No,
with
he did.
you seemed wowed. I have a recording, so I'll play it back to you.
Okay.
But
let's not argue about
do,
that.
do, do, maybe the powers that be were too early because they could have used this coronavirus to say consultations have stopped.
Someone tell Enanga this.
All the
I mean, they had a
explanations
better
he's
way.
being giving
Yes.
and everything,
And
he should just have said
treason.
consultations
Yeah.
I have been suspended until further notice. Because if you suspend a football league, you suspend Formula One race, you suspend a cricket,
No one is going to be
who
surprised.
will agree to consultation? So
Yeah, but
can you
remember-
can you make a call here to Enanga? I know he's listening to you, Namfi.
I remember, but I think I've said before, NRM and the people in this government are not exactly rocket scientists. They're not exactly the brightest bulbs in the room. So
Which is
you
what
can't expect
Tumukunde
this-
seemed to be
this-
saying, yes.
This is molecular physics to them,
Yeah.
to even think about that from that angle. But anyone will tell you that it would have been a much better excuse than giving him a platform. Now he's a headline in the newspapers,
World
and you
over.
give him more space. And let me correct you when you say that. I was wowed by Tumukunde. Bless him. I have nothing against him. But to tell you the truth, I do not see the rationale and the sense in coming after Tumukunde, who is, and bless him, with all due respect, a non-issue, a non-occurrence in the grand scheme of the elections. To be truthful.
Abdul, friends like Namfi would need an enemy.
Nobody.
No, I'm not saying.
Absolutely
And I'm
no
saying,
friends.
I'm blessing. And that is why I was saying, the opposition, instead of taking him on, you're better off taking whatever he can. Because it's
The
little
little
anyway.
bit he can.
The little bit you can from him, like, okay, you're here, what are you giving? And then moving on and getting on with resolving key issues like the deep chasms in the opposition, and then moving on to the next thing. But if you're taking on to Mukonde, he's a spy, he's this, where is that getting you? You
Yeah.
don't have the time, you don't have the energy, you don't have the resources to take him on at that level. And to be honest, Tumukunde's standing is like a full figure standing for elections. And then you... Okay, I hope he doesn't hear me say this. Because that is a bit harsh.
Where he is in frontier.
Oscar, with friends like Nampi who needs enemies.
No, I'm trying to put it in
Now,
context.
who's
And
this game?
there is a lady, full figure, she has a man of hair on her head, and Museveni likes her a lot these days because gets him a certain part of the electorate. But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, you have to look at the bigger picture as opposed to the small picture.
Okay.
If you
We'll go to
are
Fred,
to make
yes.
any advancements in this.
Yeah. Robert, you'll agree with me that I really needed to give Namfi her Tumukunde moment. And you've got the opinion. So, Fred, and I know Abdul did say that Rukunjiri may not have data and online services, maybe deliberately.
Like Bugwero.
I was thinking, in Uganda we say "Bukokolo bugeyagana," so you know. But isn't this a lesson for politicians? The power of social media, especially you people in the opposition. You have a virus that can go really viral online, and everyone gets fearing and everything. But how can you also take from this in opposition politics?
By the way, the social media is like creating more fear than actually the speed of the virus itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I serve on the ICT committee in the parliament, and the figures may surprise you. the internet penetration across the country is so low, right now at about 5%.
Wow.
That social media would not have a big impact.
So you're saying WhatsApp communication in Uganda is at 5%? Because the government of Uganda has never shut it down. Surely it can't be 5%.
Between 5 and 10. Of course, they are talking. It talks to different people than the government is trying to fight in the local communities. But look, you see, local people, the people that we lead, would like to hear from people themselves. You get? When a message comes on social media, unless it is really creating fear. But if it is something they are supposed to believe in, follow, even in campaigns, they want to hear from an individual. Actually, what the Minister of Health should take from this, instead of going on, they can continue going on radios and social media, but they should use the local leaders more, create like seminars so that the leaders can talk to the people they lead. That is when people
maybe you're talking about a different age bracket, because the dynamics show that the age bracket now that we have in Uganda is very much into particularly social media. And tomorrow on my television show, NBS Face Off Show, I'm interviewing Dr. Stella Nyanzi, and she's a practical example of someone who was jailed because of her impact on social media.
Yes. Well, yeah, the young people, yes. But when we talk about local communities, we are talking at a big cross-section of people, right from the elderly, right from people who work in the fields, who don't even own telephones. What is the penetration of these smartphones in the villages? So it can have an impact, but what we should take from here is that we should use more leaders to reach more people. That is when they will believe in the messages that we are putting out, even in the fight of these diseases like coronavirus. People need to reach out to the local people themselves and explain to them, and that's when they will understand this. But social media will not have a very big impact in our
before you come on to it, I'd like to ask Abdu, do you agree with him? Because what had happened, even with the telephone companies had created, I forget, internet to go on Kabiriti as well. You have like, I think they created a package called, was it WF something? And even if you don't have a smartphone, you can access social media. Yeah, my young producer tells me it's WFT. It's a package that enables you to access.
You think I don't know that?
You
think I don't know that?
No, the Honorable Abdul Katuntu is a BBC. And Oscar, for your information, there are two kinds of people now. And
that's why your young producer is showing
he was born before computer and he was born before social media. So for him, he suffers double jeopardy.
For which I have an apologies. But let me tell you one thing. The most I agree with Nafka, form of communication these days is social media. It is a way of communicating and reaching out to people. But we need to get the figures correct. Because sometimes we are up in the air there, and when you say people, you imagine that actually the majority of the people are part of this social media. And that's wrong. Just get the figures. I don't have the exact one, but I don't remember them, but they were incredibly too low. People who own smartphones and therefore can be on Facebook and read all this. We have a club, and among us ourselves on social media, we are too loud. Amongst ourselves.
We think we are too many.
We think we are too many. And actually,
I disagree.
Please, you don't
let him
disagree.
Finish.
Okay, disagree by giving me the figures. Because we're talking about figures.
Finish and then I'll
so
my
we are just too loud and too arrogant. Imagine we are the ones who matter. I have done elections for 20 years. Every 5 years, I go there. I just organize a rally at LC1, and I address like between 200 to 300 people. Of these 200-300 people in every village, you may find that less than 5% of them are actually on social media or even hold phones. other than those who have the capability and they use only one thing to ring and to receive. At most these days.
These days, capability has those functions.
But they don't use it. Please, they don't.
Oscar,
You get. I know.
Let him finish.
So let me tell you, we don't have amongst us. We are too noisy. We communicate amongst ourselves, and imagine all the people are now being communicated to. But there is another effect to it, which other people tap in. Because they get things, for example, on the social media, and tomorrow they are on a local radio. And then they start discussing those sort of issues and so on. What we think is a secondary to the original one. And that reaches a little bit
More people.
to more people.
It's just a
Then
quick
the
question
word
because
of
we're running
mouth.
out of time.
Sorry?
Hold on, Namfi, you're coming on. Just a quick question to Abdul because we're running out of time.
Sure.
So are you going to adjust what you've said? I know you're not campaigning in 2021, but woe betide any politician
in 2022.
woe betide
Virus is gone.
Abdul, woe betide any politician that ignores social media in 2021.
Yeah.
Which one? Social media?
Yeah.
I would do it. It can only constitute maybe 10% of my campaign, not more than 10%. If I were to be looking for a vote as a member of parliament,
10%.
Hold on. If I were looking for a vote as a member of parliament in Bugweri County or Rujumbura, 10%. Beyond it, I will be very artificial.
Namfi, a quick one before we stop for a break, and then I'll have Moses.
Grossly mistaken to do that. Let me tell you how this works. You see, you have to look at social media in the context of the country you're in. Yes, this is going. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, I was out of Kampala when that event happened where a Chinese collapsed and was locked up in one room, and people started milling around him, and some ran away, some got closer, and that is how you can see Ugandans can sometimes. Anyway, maybe if someone told them someone is maybe had Ebola, they would have reacted better than going closer to him as opposed to going away. But that is another matter. But I was at a building site, and most of those builders, who are about 30 young men, don't have capability. They don't have social media. But one of them had social media. And then the other was told by someone over the phone about this happening in Kampala. And then told the other people. By the time I left, all 30 people, and let me tell you, in all this audience, there is one phone. One.
But you don't differ from what Abdul
But
Katuntu has said. He has said one person goes to radio and disseminates the information.
And then the radio tells another person.
Yes.
So in that effect, do not undermine the effect of social media. Even though people don't have smartphones and direct access to social media, the secondary access to social media right now is enough.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was talking about being in a taxi.
Let me tell you something.
In a taxi, and people were so informed about the coronavirus. They knew about the effects in Italy, and these are people in taxis who you'd imagine all 14 of them, probably 2 of them have smartphones. But they had good knowledge of most of these things. They were misinformed on certain things here and there. But
as social media goes.
Social media, do not underestimate it.
Okay, let's stop for a quick break, and we'll start with Moses, who's also been burning to say something.
You've